My wife invited lover in our house. 5 minutes later, she was dragged out by hair. I knew something was wrong the moment I stepped onto the porch. The air felt heavier, as though the house itself was holding its breath. My home, my sanctuary, suddenly felt like enemy territory. What I didn't know was that in the next 5 minutes, every illusion I had about my marriage would shatter. And the person I trusted most would make the biggest mistake of her life. My name is Daniel, and until that night, I thought I had a normal, imperfect but loving marriage with my wife, Melissa. We had been together for 8 years. We had struggles like any couple, bills, communication issues, stress, but I genuinely believed we were building something worth fighting for. But sometimes, the real battles are the ones we don't even know we're in. It started months earlier. Melissa became distant, slow replies, late nights out, vague explanations. I asked her what was wrong, but she always brushed it off with a tired smile and a, just stressed, babe. I wanted to believe her. I did believe her. Because that's what love does, it blinds you to red flags waving in your face. But that evening, I got a text from my neighbor, Mrs. Henderson. She's the type who sees everything, even things you wish she didn't. Greater than, Daniel, honey, there's a man at your house. Melissa let him in. My heart slammed against my ribs. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but something inside me whispered truth even before I saw it. I rushed home from work, hands trembling on the steering wheel. When I reached the driveway, I noticed something immediately. Melissa's car was there, but unfamiliar footprints led to the porch. I walked inside quietly. My instincts told me not to announce myself, and they were right. Because what I heard next was enough to kill a part of me forever. Melissa's laugh. Soft, familiar, intimate. And then a man's voice, low and confident. Are you sure your husband won't be back for hours? My breath caught. I felt my knees weaken, but anger burned through the shock. I pushed the door open harder than I intended, and it slammed against the wall. They froze. Melissa jumped like she'd seen a ghost. The man, a tall, muscular guy the first had never seen before, stood beside her, smirking like he owned the place. Daniel, you're home early. Melissa stammered, her face going pale. Before I could speak, the man stepped forward with an arrogant tilt of his chin. So you're the husband, he said. This doesn't have to get ugly. I could barely form words. My throat felt raw. You, get out, I whispered. But fate had a different plan, because right at that moment, the front door burst open again. And in walked Melissa's older sister, Claire. She was a force of nature, bold, hot-headed, fiercely loyal. I had called her earlier, desperate for advice, unable to make sense of Mrs. Henderson's message. I didn't expect her to come. But she did, and she arrived just in time to witness everything. Claire's eyes widened in horror. You're cheating on Daniel. In his house. You have no shame. Claire, stop. Let me explain. Melissa cried, stepping toward her. But Claire didn't want explanations. Her anger erupted like a storm. You betrayed him. You brought another man into the home he works day and night to provide. How dare you? The tension snapped. Claire grabbed Melissa by the wrist, and in her rage, she dragged her toward the door. Melissa screamed, stumbling as Claire yanked her by the hair, tears streaming down her face. The lover tried to intervene, but the moment he moved, I stepped in front of him with a warning glare. Touch her, I growled, and I swear you'll regret it. He stopped. Melissa kept pleading, but Claire didn't stop until she'd pulled her outside. Onto the yard. Neighbors peeked through their windows. Cars slowed down. Humiliation washed over Melissa like a tidal wave. And I just stood there. Frozen. Crushed. Heartbroken. When Claire finally let go, Melissa collapsed onto the grass, sobbing uncontrollably. I didn't feel satisfaction or revenge, only a deep, aching emptiness. Claire stormed back inside, grabbed my shoulders, and said quietly, You don't deserve this, Daniel. Don't let her destroy you. That night was the beginning of the end, and strangely, the beginning of my rebirth. I didn't sleep. Melissa tried calling me, texting me, begging to talk, but I shut my phone off. I needed silence, something we hadn't had in months. The next morning, I went to my parents' house. When I told them everything, my father put a hand on my shoulder. You can't control what others do, he said. But you can control how you rise from it. It was the first moment I felt a spark of strength returning. Melissa reached out constantly over the next few days. She apologized, she cried, she blamed stress, loneliness, anything she could think of. But excuses couldn't erase the image burned into my mind. Eventually, she admitted it, there had been an affair for almost a year. She thought I was emotionally absent, though she never once told me how she felt. I filed for divorce. Her family, horrified by her actions, supported me fully. Claire apologized for her outburst that night, but I told her the truth. She reacted the way I couldn't. She gave a voice to the pain I didn't know how to express. Slowly, I rebuilt my life. I hit the gym. I started cooking again. I reconnected with old friends. I found hobbies I once abandoned. And as the weeks turned into months, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. One day, I ran into Melissa again. She looked smaller, tired, broken in a way I didn't wish on anyone. She told me she regretted everything. That she lost not just a husband, but the man who loved her more than anyone else ever would. I listened. I nodded. But I did not take her back. Because some betrayals don't break you, they build you. They force you to discover your worth. They push you into the version of yourself you were always meant to become. And that's the message I want to leave you with. Sometimes life rips people out of your world brutally, painfully, violently. But sometimes, that's the only way to make room for the people, and the future, you truly deserve. Never let someone else's betrayal convince you that you are unlovable. Never let someone else's choices convince you that you are not enough. And never, ever forget. Your value doesn't decrease because someone failed to see it.